a lot of my businesses would have been deemed as failures to like people that aren't me. Like for example, my first e-commerce store, I'd like started many dropshipping stores before this, and all of them were like horrible. And then this first one that actually was successful for maybe like 3 months, I heard about this thing called organic marketing, and I was posting TikToks like every day for 3 months, and I probably got one sale the entire time. And like I feel like at that point, most people would have been like, "Oh, this is a failure. It's not going to work." But I just kept going at it and kept making different types of content until something stuck, and then the numbers started going up. But there was like a very long period of like what most people would deem as failure, but I just saw as like testing phase. So that's kind
Hmm.
of how I come at my businesses now. I make sure that like I'm really doing every single thing I can until I like give up on the idea.
Being broke is bad, but being stupid is what's really bad. And what's really, really bad is being broke and stupid.
Confucius says that you have two lives, and the second one begins when you realize you only have one.
No one is paying attention.
It's not that hard, Scott. Tell him, Wash.
It's incredibly hard.
Hey, anything worth doing is.
Hello, wonderful people. Welcome to the Young, Smart, and Battling Broke podcast. I'm your host, Cole Hume. Today, I'm interviewing Jake Santaniello, and my God, I have never met a serial entrepreneur quite like Jake. At the age of 21, he has created a 7-figure revenue stream from his mix of e-commerce brands, including UCLA Vintage and Martino Milano, as well as his real estate investment fund and protein gummy brand Thrive Candy. While full-blown entrepreneuring, he landed a role at the prestigious management consulting firm Boston Consulting Group for after graduation, without a single internship on his resume. We cover how Jake thinks about entrepreneurship, his path of building businesses rather than working internships, and how he would launch his entrepreneurial journey if he had to restart tomorrow, as well as much more. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. I want to get at how many crazy things you're doing by just asking you about the architecture of your week, man. Like, what is going on in the day-to-day life of you? And we can maybe pull some threads from there. But there's so many different businesses, so many different ventures, so many just interesting things that you're constantly trying to be thinking about and doing. So if you could just literally tell me about your day, it's a silly question, but I think for you, there's actually a much more interesting answer.
I feel like it changes like every week based on what stage of a business I'm in. So like right now I have my e-commerce stuff, which is so one of them's like on autopilot at this point. So I just make content every day, and I have like a set framework that I can just choose from. And then my other one that we just started manufacturing our own clothing, it actually turned out to be way different than we thought. The marketing isn't working. It used to work before when we were drop shipping. It's not working anymore that we have a smaller selection. So most of my days are making content for that and thinking about content for that. And then also for my protein gummy business, which has also been more of a struggle marketing than I thought, because I thought I had the TikTok stuff down. But it turns out that the wellness niche is a lot different than the fashion niche. So it's been a lot of brainstorming, making content, talking to like my business partners, which is mostly my brother, and also just logistical stuff with manufacturing our own clothing has been a lot. So like today I have like 1,000 pounds of clothes coming to my apartment that I have to like coordinate. I might have to get a U-Haul after this and go pick it up from some warehouse like an hour away. But yeah, I'll figure that out.
But this
I
is,
guess
I'll
after
pause
this.
you because this is why I wanted you to answer this question. It's not because I think like tactically exactly how your
Yeah.
day is going to be
Yeah.
implementable for somebody else, but it gets at exactly who you are. Right now, you have just so many different threads you're pulling. You have
Yeah.
so many little businesses that you're thinking about. And last time we chatted, you said something that resonates with me heavily each day, and just how much you hate people talking about things. And you are the absolute doer. There is such a minimal delay or lag between your speech and your action. But if you
Yeah.
could just list out the ventures at their highest level, we don't have to get into the whys of each,
Okay.
but maybe
Okay.
just say what the venture is and
Mhm.
what the industry it is.
Okay.
And then we can linger or double click on whatever. But I think that this really gets at how multidimensional and serial entrepreneur you are.
Okay. Yeah. So 2 e-commerce, fashion clothing brands.
Okay.
One vintage clothing Instagram page that I just sell to UCLA students, and then a protein gummy brand I just started, and then also a real estate company doing basically like a real estate investment fund for Section 8 housing. That's everything I do right now.
Hell yeah.
Oh, no. That's not everything I do right now. I also have I'm making or I'm not making it, but I have a co-founder who's building it, and it's like AI customer service for Shopify stores.
Okay, that final one seems like the most complex of all the businesses, so it's
Yeah.
hilarious. Just throw that in there.
Well, it's
But
also like earliest stage. That's why I kind of forgot.
yeah, just again, like we were saying, there's no lag between talk and do. Do you feel like
Yeah.
this mentality is ever gonna catch up to you? Is it catching up to you a little bit right now?
It's definitely catching up to me right now because I feel like when I do so many different things and I don't really think about how my time is going to be dispersed between them. So I've been like extremely overwhelmed with work, and I feel like I'm just like doing 50 different things all day and they don't really like intertwine, if that makes sense. Like my head is constantly like moving from place to place. And then I feel like it also caused me to not fully think through my ideas. So like issues come from that. Like the clothing manufacturing has been way more expensive than I thought it was going to be, which has been causing a lot of issues. And I should have just researched it more. Things like that are like the downside of just like constantly doing things, not really thinking them through that much.
But in essentially starting, just cold starting, that is when the investigation occurs.
Yeah.
And I think you will not be crazy enough to just see pricing that's super stupid and super high and be like, well, I believe in this idea so much that I'm just going to force it. I think that you are kind of considering the beginning of your journeys, the beginning of your ventures as a bit of a investigative process that other people won't even do just because they have the idea and don't conduct any action surrounding the idea just because it sounds too big. So I
Yeah.
do think that that's something that contrasts you.
Yeah, that's true. Like a lot of my businesses, I definitely would not have started if I researched the industry and things like that, which I think is like one of the huge benefits of just like taking action without being too pessimistic and like poking holes through everything. It's like it's called like have you ever heard like an expert mind? It's like a lot of entrepreneurs talk about that. Like the expert mind is like the person who has been in the industry for so long, they know so much, and it causes them to think they know everything and that they don't take action. As opposed to, I think you learn the most and you get the most results just by taking action. And then, yeah, you figure out as you go. And then also, whereas if you did research and thought, oh, this isn't going to work, it usually ends up working if you just work hard enough, I think, and believe in yourself.
You told me the other day what your first business was. I think a lot of people will find this mildly hilarious. So can you tell me about that business?
Are you talking about the satisfying video YouTube
I'm
channel?
talking about the satisfying slime.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, I think I was like 13 and I really liked making slime and like playing with slime. So I don't even know what like compelled me to do it, but I just went on like I downloaded a video editor on my phone and then I put together a bunch of satisfying videos of like slime and stuff that I like, posted it on YouTube and then forgot about it for a week, and then I looked back and it had like 30,000 views, and then I was like, "Oh wait, this could probably be a big thing if a random video gets 30,000 views." And I just started posting and eventually built it up to like 65,000 subscribers and got like 40 million channel views.
So that initial slime satisfying video, why did you not just keep it in your own library? Why did you feel the need to output it on YouTube? Were you kind of like, the world needs this?
I have no idea. Like I don't even know what went through my brain. I don't know.
Were you thinking business?
No. I like when I was younger, I never thought business, but I always like did business, if that makes sense. But it was more just like it always just felt natural. It might have been more like when I was younger, I would make like video game content. Like I would just like screen record my phone and just like post it on YouTube or something. I've always been like into content, I guess. Like putting things online. Yeah.
Let's talk about business partnerships, man. It seems like you have one of the most enviable partners from an outsider's perspective. You work primarily with your brother, right? And your guys' connection seems really damn cool. It's something that I wish I could have with a business partner down the road. And obviously, being a twin helps. But can you just tell me how meaningful it's been having someone by your side through all your ventures and what it kind of feels like going forward?
Yeah, so I feel like it's like the biggest advantage that I have, and like I think it's the main reason why I'm as successful as I am is just like the fact that I have a built-in partner who I 100% trust, who I share all my money with, like we share bank accounts. It just makes it so seamless. And it all the other huge advantage is just that there's someone who has the same interests as me and the same like entrepreneurial drive. We work very well together too, so like we know kind of what our strengths are, and like at this point we've like very much handed off the different responsibilities of each business to like whoever's better at it. I feel like it's hard for me to work with other people because I don't have like nearly close to the connection with them that I have with my brother, and I'm so used to doing businesses with someone that I'm like closer than any human could even imagine to another human,
Yeah, it's like a
if that makes
second
sense.
brain.
Yeah. So it is. I feel like it's more difficult for me to work with other people, but I guess going forward, my brother is maybe going to med school. It causes a lot of issues in that sense, like because we both have different routes outside of entrepreneurship. His would be like medicine, mine would be like consulting, I guess. So it does cause like a little confusion there, but I think the way I see it, we will end up being just entrepreneurs.
What have you really been optimizing for, do you think, the last couple of years of your life? Because right now you're in a really interesting place. You have a fantastic job out of school, or at least what a lot of people would deem so, with BCG. Um, and you, while doing that, achieving this great role, have successfully created multiple entrepreneurial ventures and continue to do so. So, what have you been thinking about or optimizing for these last couple years of college?
Yeah, I feel like what I'm optimizing for is always changing. So like right now it's been straight like entrepreneurship. Everything I'm working on is like basically what I think about all day, what I do all day. But in different periods of the past couple years, I feel like I've been optimizing for different things. Like when I first switched from being pre-med to like business economics because I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I was like people convinced me that I needed to like or people didn't convince me, but I just like because of the circles I'm in, I felt like I needed to start doing recruitment. So I guess for a bit I was optimizing like consulting, casing, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that was like a week probably, but I did that. That's how BCG came about. But
You are the most absurd recruitment story of anyone I've ever met. Literally,
yeah,
you had an interview get plopped on your calendar after you applied to a few firms, right? And
I
then
only applied to BCG.
you only applied to BCG, and
Yeah,
then you hit me up and you're like, "Yo, dude, I got an interview in like a week." I'm like, "Have you been casing a lot?" And you're like, "Nah, not really."
yeah,
And then we hopped in a case, and I was like, "Jake, I'm not gonna lie, man. It's gonna be really difficult, but I think you got it. I think you really put your head down."
yeah.
And I didn't really know when you stepped out, and then you text me like 2 days later. "Oh yeah, I got the job." So you're someone that seems to just like deliver in game time, but that was also kind of fascinating. Do you think that most people could not optimize for consulting in the way that you did and still land a role? Or do you feel like that was kind of a unique scenario? How do you reflect back on that process for yourself?
Yeah, I don't really know because I remember doing that case with you. Like I think it was the night before the interview, and I did so bad, and I was like so embarrassed. I was like, Cole probably thinks I'm an idiot, and I started getting all in my head. But then I don't. The thing that like I think it is like I feel like when I first got that interview, I always just like deep down had a feeling I was gonna get it,
Hmm.
and I think that's like the reason why it works out is just like that like, internal knowing that it's gonna it's gonna work out.
Yeah, you have a radical self belief.
Yeah,
So many people are haunted by doubt.
yeah.
And with all your ventures, and you can probably list your failures. What is your perspective on failure?
I feel like I used to fail more than I do now, and I think that's because like the self belief you were talking about, and also being, I think like I used to not be a very positive person, and I'm a very positive person now, and I think that is how you like fail. I feel like you can avoid failure by just like sticking to something and being positive and believing in yourself, because a lot of my businesses would have been deemed as failures to like people that aren't me. Like for example, my first e-commerce store, I'd like started many dropshipping stores before this, and all of them were like horrible. And then this first one that actually was successful for maybe like 3 months, I heard about this thing called organic marketing, and I was posting TikToks like every day for 3 months, and I probably got one sale the entire time. And like I feel like at that point, most people would have been like, "Oh, this is a failure. It's not going to work." But I just kept going at it and kept making different types of content until something stuck, and then the numbers started going up. But there was like a very long period of like what most people would deem as failure, but I just saw as like testing phase. So that's
Hmm.
kind of how I come at my businesses now. I make sure that like I'm really doing every single thing I can until I like give up on the idea.
How do you deal with the people that don't understand the quote unquote testing phase? And are those people in your life? Anyone that maybe teases you for your daily TikTok posts or whatever it may be?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like I would never post content of myself. It would always be like me recording things. I don't really like putting myself on the internet, so no, I would just avoid telling people these things because I feel like nothing positive really comes out of telling your friends or someone you know, like, oh, I'm posting TikToks every day and they get no views because I'm trying to sell pants online. Like, I feel like no good really comes from it. So I usually just avoid telling people. But I do think it's important to talk to people about. And that's where like the huge benefit of my brother comes in, because I do everything with him. And when like someone sees it all firsthand and also believes in you and the vision, I feel like I don't really even have an urge to tell anyone else.
Hmm. But having one person kind of externally validate it's still for you means a lot.
Yeah, like if I have an idea, or honestly, like anything in life, I go to him, and if I get his opinion, and if his opinion is like valid on it, then I immediately probably don't need anyone else's opinion on it.
Hmm. You're willing to kind of sink your teeth into it.
Yeah,
That's super fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah, I think most people don't have that luxury and they're
Mhm.
looking for that one person to externally validate what they're doing. And they go to their parents. They're frequently met with, like, especially if it's something extremely entrepreneurial and their parents didn't follow a path like that, the parents might tease them. Or if they ask a peer who's also in some very optimized career path, they just won't really see the vision. And oftentimes, the coolest entrepreneurs are visionaries. This idea of having this core individual in your life who can help be a bullshit test and also, though, contains this radical self belief. I'm assuming your brother is not like much more doubting than you are. You talk a lot about your optimism and your positivity. Is your brother kind of one and the same in that?
If anything, I'm the more like negative one. Like for example, with the clothing manufacturing, when all these like insane costs, like we just got hit with a random $6,000 for like tariffs and customs that we just had no clue
Hmm.
was going to happen. I definitely like worry more and get a little more freaked out, and he's the one that kind of keeps me grounded. So I feel like we both do a good job of like believing in ourselves. And
Jake, what's like an important truth or aspect to your life that very few people would agree with you on? Something that you believe that, but maybe you're a little bit of a black sheep for believing.
really bad things happening in life and then also in business are actually a good thing. So like specifically, I really like when I lose a lot of money or make a huge mistake in business, because anytime it's happened in the past, it's always led to much, much bigger things.
Hmm. Linger on that. Give me an example.
Freshman year of college, I kind of got like a little lazy on my entrepreneurial journey. Like this was probably the period of my life where I was doing the least in terms of like building businesses. But what I was doing was I was trading crypto and NFTs, which was like my main thing. That was my main source of income. So I got really into Solana NFTs, and I was just every day I would just wake up and like just sell pictures for more money than I bought them. And then eventually the entire crypto market crashed. And like I had gotten myself so comfortable and like, oh, I just wake up and I kind of had the system down. I had a spreadsheet. I was profitable. Like, oh, I just do this. And then it all crashed and I lost like every single dollar I had at that point. because Solana dropped to like $9 and all my money was in Solana because I was trading Solana NFTs. And then at that point is when I realized, shoot, like I got comfortable and I actually need to do something else. So then that's when I started going back into drop shipping, which I had done previously, but I was like, let's give this another try. Then that's when I came across like my most successful business now. And I'm like going through a moment like that right now because when we moved away from drop shipping with the one of my stores, we wanted to launch by Black Friday because our Black Friday last year was like insane. And we thought the same thing was going to happen. And I was honestly expecting like, oh, we sell out the whole new collection on Black Friday. But it did a lot worse than expected. And we spent a lot more money than we expected. So I'm in kind of one of those positions right now. And it's kind of hard to like remind yourself, but I do always think back to those times when I have lost money, and that's why I have that like belief that things like this are actually really good, and which it has been really good because I've been like more motivated than I've been in a while now that I'm down a lot of money.
So usually when you start losing, that's when you have the discomfort to start feeling the need to learn, to kind of compensate with doing something new or with education.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've been getting very comfortable with the e-commerce stuff, and I think this is exactly what I needed to like take it to the next level. I don't think I would have ever even I would have just kept collecting the money and just doing the same thing, but this is going to force me to actually build it into something greater, which I think is good.
Do you have mentors in your life?
No.
Do you have anyone that you listen to for advice consistently, or inputs, or podcasts, or books?
I listen to podcasts. I don't do it as much anymore. I used to listen to a lot of like business podcasts, but in terms of like advice, stuff like that, I don't really read. I don't really take advice from many people. I'd say my brother. Yeah, I kind of just I wish I had a mentor and I wish I had people that I could take advice from, but I just don't really know people that are like doing things I want to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's hard to find an exact entrepreneur for someone that's doing 9 different interesting things. You could find someone for one specific sphere, but for you, it's probably a bit more challenging. That's interesting. Do you feel like there's something powerful about the lack of additional inputs you have in your life, about how the primary inputs are just your own mind and your brother's?
Yeah, I think there's obviously a lot of negatives with that, as in like being able to talk to someone who's done what you're trying to do but in the past is like obviously going to advance you a ton. But I think the advantage to not having that has just been I feel like you learn so much more when most of your learning is through action and trying new things rather than listening to other people. Like learning through your own life instead of other people's lives.
What's been the most surprising lesson you've learned while running your businesses?
Success in business or success in like whatever you're searching for doesn't really change anything in your life. Like you always think that something will change your life, and when you like I remember like for example when I was trading crypto, I would always think about like wow, it'd be so nice if I had so much more capital to be able to trade crypto with. If I had more capital, I could do all these things and everything would be perfect and I'd probably be so much more successful. And then when I get the capital, it it's really not like that at all. And I've been like realizing through like reaching each next step of businesses that there's really no point in like thinking that something that you attain is going to change anything in terms of like make you more successful or make you feel better, things like that.
How does that lend to you implementing anything into your life? Does it make you still enjoy entrepreneurship to the same degree? Or does it just allow you to be more mindful about when a business you are doing is maybe making you unhappy, since you know that its outcome won't necessarily achieve happiness?
That like realization cause for me is just like the importance of making sure that I'm doing things that I like, and then also just like making sure that I'm enjoying the process instead of thinking that a certain number will like make me feel some type of way, because I mean, there's many, many reasons why all my businesses that I run, I'm like personally super interested in. Like I love clothing. That's why I do the clothing e-commerce stuff. I love fitness. That's why I'm doing the protein gummies now. I think that when you kind of have that realization that the results don't really bring you that much, it's a lot more about actually like creating things and doing things that make you feel fulfilled, if that makes sense. But then I also just think that you should be doing that to have a successful business. Like I think to have an advantage over other people, you need to be super, super interested in what you're trying to make. Or
Hmm.
else someone who is super interested is gonna be happier every day when they're working on it. They're gonna like
They
the now
won't have a burnout week.
yeah, they won't. And like the analogy that's like super applicable to me would be like content. Like the guy who loves clothing more than me is gonna make much better content and it's gonna do a lot better. Or like the person who's a lot more into fitness is gonna have way better ideas for marketing and they're also gonna know like they're gonna resonate with the target audience more and therefore they'll build a better product. So I also just think it's super important to do things that you specifically love because I think that's what gives you the advantage compared to other people.
What's the best investment of time or money or resources that you've made in the last couple years?
I think the best investment would definitely be like I was talking about that testing period with my first e-commerce store. That investment of like the 3 months with no results has led to like so much more just in
Hmm.
terms of like that business being successful, but then I knew I could replicate that success in different niches, which is why I started the second store. I had other stores in the past, but they were more like they didn't have as much longevity as these two, so it caused me to like start even more e-commerce stores. it I feel like it just gave me like it was so exponential in terms of like everything I got from it, as in like it gave me validity when I'm talking to other people. Like the success in that has is the reason why I'm able to like work with certain people with my real estate thing.
Hmm.
Why when the gummy idea I didn't actually come up with myself. I really wanted to do something with TikTok Shop and I had talked to one of my friends about it. But like the reason that he came to me to co-found it with him is because of my success, and that success was due to like a long period of time where I had no results. So I
Hmm.
think like that period was definitely the greatest investment of like time that I've had in the past couple of years.
It was that month over month of no returns, essentially.
Yeah.
And then one big, essentially just compounding return,
Hmm.
where now you're trading that success up each year, each business venture from that one initial spark, but you really just had to keep on rubbing the wood together for that fire to be created. And it took a minute, but you're saying that that minute was the best investment.
Yeah, it was like so boring and it was so hard every day to make videos when you see no results, and I just did not want to do it. But yeah, the results that came, like the long term of that period has been so valuable. And it's like also the reason why I have BCG. Like I've never had an internship, so I shouldn't have even gotten past the resume screens. But because of that, I had like a something on my resume, just like a very successful business on my resume. The slime videos like probably wouldn't have done it alone. So yeah, it's
It
like
doesn't
every
translate to an
aspect.
MBB offer.
Yeah, probably not. But
I love that point though. So you're saying that the entrepreneurship that you've had over the last couple of years substituted for internships.
yeah, definitely.
I don't even know if I actually scanned your resume before you applied for BCG, so I don't think I actually noticed this, but that's super insightful. That for people that are trying to make it and love entrepreneurship, but also do not want to put them basically shoot themselves in the foot by not pursuing one of these professional services or really name brand companies that are incredible places to launch careers and to fulfill a ton of people's goals. They could, while in college, be pursuing entrepreneurial things. And if they're mildly successful, those could actually substitute for internships. Do you believe that? Based on your own story, it seems like that might be the case.
I believe it, but like there's not a very large sample size
Yeah.
to see that.
We don't want to be prescriptive here.
Yeah, it's also like very, very hit or miss. Like one example would be when I was applying to consulting clubs at UCLA. My like yeah, you've never seen my resume, but it's just entirely like my own businesses. And then in like the club section, I wasn't even in any clubs at UCLA yet. I had just started my own club. So like it was very much just like s- it's very hit or miss, as in like some people see that and they don't respect it at all. Like I got denied. I don't think I got past the resume screen for any consulting club. Maybe one consulting club. I got denied from them all, even though I had like semi-successful businesses. And then it wasn't until like Bruin Consulting came along, which was the last application, and you guys actually appreciated like the entrepreneurial experiences on my resume, that like it paid off. So I think it is very hit or miss in terms of like how people view that. But I think a lot of people do appreciate it. So it could be a route to substitute internships, but
Yeah, let's be honest. Let's talk about internships really quick. Not that you would know, because you've only worked one and you actually worked an internship where they work you to the bones at BCG, or you learn a lot. I've worked multiple internships, and they usually are the best education from them is the nail in the coffin that you never want to do that type of work. It's usually not really that substantive, and usually I encourage kids that if they're not working an internship that they see extreme growth, try to negotiate part-time or something, because it ends up being you just being like a bot. You could so easily be replaced by AI in like a year or two, or even now, based on a lot of like the types of tasks that I was doing in past internships. There was one where I literally shredded paper for 6 hours one day. This was at a major defense company. They had me shredding paper for 6 hours. I sound privileged thinking that that's a labor of use, but that was crazy. So I think you were actually doing things that was providing an education by just being full frontal entrepreneur mode. That's really damn cool. I wish that we could be prescriptive and tell people that they could just follow that path and then land BCG, but it probably doesn't work like that, and everyone has their own variables. But it's encouraging that that's actually possible.
yeah, no, I mean, like what I tell people is like younger people in Bruin Consulting, things like that, is like you should still try to get internships, just because if you want to go into like the corporate world, that's at the end of the day, like all the interns I interned with at BCG, most of them had very good internships before. I think I was the only one who had never had an internship before. Like what I tell people is still try to get an internship, but at the same time, like if you feel like you're interested in entrepreneurship, like whatever idea you have, you should be starting it immediately and doing it no matter what else you have going on in your life. Because I feel like a lot of the times people convince themselves they're so busy, like, oh, I have school, I have this, I can't work on my business and have an internship. But like if you are building something you're passionate about, which like goes back to what I was talking about earlier, you should always be starting a business in something that you're passionate about. I feel like you always find a way to make it work. Like I still do all my schoolwork and I still like make sure that I have good grades, yet I still have like 5 businesses on the side. So I think everyone should be starting businesses if they're interested in that, but at the same time still trying to get internships if they want to take that route.
Yeah, it's kind of like let yourself recalibrate after you sign up, or like kind of allow those positive constraints to build out your life. And we become more efficient. We'll essentially fit the work in of the window that we have. So if you just start prescribing yourself the work, I mean, maybe you'll be creating an extreme burnout scenario, but it's better to then readjust than to never essentially swing for the fences and try to create that crazy calendar that actually enables you to launch all the things that you're passionate about. And it's kind of defeatist to do it before you even give it a chance. It seems like you've given it a chance.
Yeah, I think if you're doing something that you love, you won't really burn out. Like maybe if you're not seeing the results that you want, it feels bad. But I think if you keep at it, like you'll usually get some sort of result.
If you had to start over tomorrow, what would you do differently?
Start over with like all my businesses.
Like if you were starting a business tomorrow.
I would definitely just do exactly what I've already done. I would just start the same clothing e-commerce stuff, build up a cash flow, and then start like using that security that I have from that to like invest into other ventures and explore other things, which is basically like what I did.
So you trust that that's just a locked in, successful entrepreneurial venture.
Yeah.
If you are willing to dedicate the time and you have the interest and energy.
Yeah, not for everyone though.
Yeah.
I think like the reason that I know it's like locked in successful is because I've been doing it for 2 years. So I just know that I would be able to make it work. But that's the thing is like everyone probably has something like that they would have the huge advantage in if they just like put the time into developing a certain skill, which is like I can like make a Shopify store so fast and I'm really good at making content in fashion and I know what will get views and I know what will convert. So that's how I know that I would be successful if I had to start over. But
so you like content and you like fashion. And it seems like obviously your business has perfectly integrated the two, and that's why it's successful. Is there any aspects to your business that you hate that you have to deal with?
I guess the content, like the thing that I do like making content, but I think I've like through running these businesses that are so like heavily reliant on organic short form content is kind of like made me lose that like fire for it. So I honestly don't like making it anymore. But I mean, I guess that's just kind of how everything goes. When you do something for like 2 years straight, you probably don't have the same passion that you used to.
Yet you'd still start your entrepreneurial journey over by doing content and e-commerce.
Yeah, just because I know it so well, I know it would work. But
okay, so you do believe in kind of embrace some irritating tasks to achieve your entrepreneurial goals.
Yeah. Okay. I think you have to, but it's like when you're doing an irritating task that's like centered around something you love, it's like tolerable. Like if I had to make videos about something I'm not interested at all, it would be it would be so much worse for me just like mentally having to do that every day. But like at the end of the day, I'm still making videos about clothes, which is something that I do really love.
I interviewed a good friend of both of ours, Tejas, last week, and we discussed the contrast of entrepreneurship and consulting. You're the hybrid. You're going into consulting right now. I'm curious, what is the mentality as you enter this phase?
I think I don't know like a ton of corporate careers, but I think it's the corporate career that has the most overlap with entrepreneurship. I don't even know if that's true, but I mean, when I'm in the business like sphere at UCLA, it's like investment banking, consulting, accounting, and I feel like if anything's gonna at least somewhat like help me develop skills that would help me with entrepreneurship, it would be consulting.
Jake, what do you think is the ultimate scarce resource?
I think the ultimate scarce resource is like people that you can fully trust, that fully want the best for you, and that fully believe in you. Like I feel like it's so hard to find, at least to me. Maybe it's just a me thing because I have someone who's been part of my life and has been that for me. I think it is really hard to find people who truly believe in you and everything you're doing, and you can like put full trust in them, and that truly want the best for you. I think that is very hard to find.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd love your feedback on ways this pod can better serve you, guests you'd like me to have, topics to cover, or just mock my god-awful audio engineering. I'm trying so damn hard to not kill your eardrums, I promise. You can find me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and X at Cole Hume. I also send out a weekly newsletter of insights and financial lessons that are changing my life, which you can find in the podcast description wherever you are listening. Until next time, smile at strangers and trust your curiosity. Thank you.